Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Joy Lim Nacker, and we continue our coverage of the verdict in the trial for the three men accused of killing Ahmaud Arbery, now convicted of murdering him. Joining us now, we have Lee Merritt, Esquire, attorney representing the family of Ahmaud Arbery. First of all, how are you feeling in reaction to this verdict?
This comes as a great relief. This is something that the family has been looking forward to. We didn't know that this day would ever come, but now that it's finally here, the family can breathe a huge sigh of relief and begin thinking about next steps.
Yeah, of course. Ahmaud's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, has been quite vocal, and understandably, I mean, her emotions have been so strong throughout the course of this trial, but yet she's maintained such composure through it all.
Yeah.
How is she feeling at this moment?
Well, again, the pressure has been relieved from her. I finally see her smiling, sort of enjoying the family. Right now, she's surrounded by members of a community that she's been engrafted in, people who have lost their loved ones to racial violence or police violence. So she's here with the family of Ronald Green and Oscar Grant right now. We've had visitors from the family of George Floyd to the family of Tatiana Jefferson, and there's a whole community of people who are celebrating this conviction with her.
Yeah, and in that context, in response to what you've just said about community reaction to this verdict, obviously you are well known as an attorney for your work in the racial justice movement. What does this mean in the context of this racial reckoning of 2020, the year that Ahmaud Arbery was brutally killed? What does this mean for the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, taken in a vacuum, this case is just a drop in the bucket. We know that statistically our courts still fail to administer justice in a race-neutral way. In other words, Black suspects are 10 times more likely to be convicted. They still face harsher penalties. We still live in the most litigious or incarceral system in the modern world, meaning we send more people to jail, mostly Black and brown, than any other people, than any other nation. So there's still a lot of work to do, but this case tells us that in a litmus test, in a lot of ways, where we are as a nation in the Deep South, with a almost entirely white jury, we can still get justice, that the evidence can be presented in a fair way, that the judge can be fair, that jurors can hear the evidence and come to a just conclusion. And it's certainly a bit of relief to know that, like I said, it's a drop in a bucket, but it's a significant one.
Yeah, and you mentioned the racial demographics of this jury. 11 of the 12 deliberating jurors were white. How much of a concern was that for your team and the Arbery family?
Oh, no, it was a huge concern. The biggest part of the concern was that we know that these jurors were selected with race in mind. In other words, of the 12 qualified Black jurors who were to sit on this panel, 11 of the defense strikes were directed directly towards them, and they were struck. And we believe that there was a racial motivation behind that, and we thought that could impact the outcome of this case. Fortunately, even a predominantly white juror was able to come to the right conclusion here in this case.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of discussion from your team included about the way that closing arguments were conducted, particularly on the part of the defense, and specifically Laura Hogue really speaking about Ahmaud Arbery in a way that so many people found dehumanizing. Were those dog whistles, if you will? Were those kind of calls for jurors to basically act on some kind of racial bias?
It wasn't a dog whistle, it was a bullhorn. We all heard it loud and clear. She went beyond what we normally see. We're used to defense attorneys blaming the victim. That's nothing new. And quite frankly, we're used to racism rearing its ugly head to impute some criminality on Ahmaud. She went even further than that. She said that he had long legs, like she was describing a gazelle, with dirty toes. And she learned about his supposedly dirty toes after viewing his autopsy. He had a huge hole in his chest and underneath his arm for when her client son murdered him. And dehumanizing is the right word. She didn't have any regard for his humanity or his mother sitting in the back room of the court. And I seriously think Attorney Hogue should be looking at ethics concerns before the bar.
And we'll just add that, you know, following that that kind of articulation during closing arguments, that her partner, not just at the firm, but in life, Franklin Hogue, just tried to explain that she was addressing this kind of narrative that Ahmaud was a jogger. You know, that's their claim. I just want to put that out there. Well, what about the fact that, you know, this trial almost didn't happen?
Yeah, we went 74 days with no arrests, and Wanda Cooper was told that her son was involved in a burglary, which we now know was a lie, and that he was killed during the course by the property owner. And you know, Glenn County seemed prepared to move on. Over 2 months went by before the video capturing what happened was released publicly, before the Georgia Bureau of Investigation got in. During that entire time, it's important to note that Wanda was not only praying, she was calling, she was investigating, she was organizing, she was linking with people from all over the world. She reached out to my office, and we were so humbled that she called us and that we were able to get in, begin to uncover what really happened to bring us to this day.
Yeah, and so we heard, you know, in reaction to this verdict, not you, but actually Mr. Crump talking about you running for Texas Attorney General. Certainly, I don't want to turn this into a platform for you to do political campaigning, but I do want to address the issue of, I guess, representation in the criminal justice system, and specifically, I want to ask you about former DA Jackie Johnson and kind of what you think that might say in terms of a systemic issue.
We knew the problem in South Georgia was systemic because it wasn't just the bad actions of a group of men, but the system gathered around itself. So the prosecutor's office told law enforcement not to make an arrest. She handpicked her replacement, although she had a conflict. And it took the Georgia Attorney General, Chris Carr, coming in and saying, it's my responsibility to make sure that all our prosecutors uphold a certain standard. And Jackie Johnson fell well short of that standard. In another high profile case that everyone was paying attention to, the criminal conviction of Derek Chauvin, we saw an active attorney general being involved, not only in the holding the prosecutors accountable, but actually getting special prosecutors to try the case. And so, yeah, the attorney general position is critically important for justice and for fixing some of the systemic problems in the nation. And that is definitely why I'm running for Texas Attorney General. And I believe that he can turn some things around, not only in Texas, but throughout the country.
And what do you think should be the outcome for DA Johnson, former DA Johnson?
Well, Jackie Johnson just a few months ago was indicted for on felony charges at the statewide level. As I mentioned, by the Attorney General, she should be convicted of crime. I think that as we look into that case, we're going to discover that George Barnhill, another elected prosecutor, is guilty of malfeasance himself, and he should face additional indictments. And that's something that Wanda Cooper Jones and her attorneys are committed to, seeing justice and accountability through all the way to the end.
You know, in the near future here on Court TV, we will be carrying the live trial of Minnesota versus Kim Porter, and that is the former Minnesota police officer, Potter, I apologize. That is the former Brooklyn Center, Minnesota police officer who will stand trial for the killing of Daunte Wright during a traffic stop. I guess, you know, my question to you is, looking at how everything transpired here, this conviction for the three men now found guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery, does it inform your projections as to what might happen in the Potter trial?
We would have to see some of the same things happening in Minnesota that we saw happening in Georgia. The laws had to change. The prosecutors had to change. The international community had to pay attention, and what we got out of that was an anomaly. And so it's very hard to predict the outcome of another trial based on all the unique set of facts that had to take place in order for us to get justice in this case. We know that Minnesota does have an active attorney general, and Keith Ellison, who's keeping an eye on the Porter case, not only an eye, but is actively involved. And so that bodes well, that representation matters, as you said earlier. And that prosecuting community will have the support and the full force of that statewide office. But other than that, you know, we can only hope and pray until we begin to. fix some of the more long-term systemic issues in our criminal justice system.
Well, thank you so much for your thoughts and your analysis. That is Attorney Lee Merritt, Esquire, attorney for Ahmaud Arbery's family, joining us live right here on Court TV.